Welcome to the Unique History Channel. Here at the Unique History Channel, we cover history that you may have never heard of before or may have forgotten. Today we'll be covering the book 1619, Jamestown and the Forging of American Democracy by James Horn and published by Basic Books. As always here at the Unique History Channel, we do not endorse the political views of the author or of the publisher. Now, this is not a book reading, but a book summary. So let's just jump in. Introduction. Along the banks of the James River in Virginia, during an oppressively hot spell in the middle of summer 1619, two events occurred within a few weeks of each other that would profoundly shape the course of American history. First, the General Assembly was the first governing body in English North America. Second, the treasurer entered the James River a few days later, but opted to leave quickly and possibly after clandestinely selling some of the African captives on board, forcibly transported from West Central Africa or modern-day Angola, where they were the first Africans to arrive in mainland English America. They were stolen from a Portuguese Sephardic-owned boat bound for Veracruz, Mexico. Now, that's not only what this book will be about. It will also be about the actual founding of the Virginia colony, the conflict with the native Powhatans, and how Virginia became to be in the 1600s. So anyway, in the introduction, after the Powhatan attack of 1622 that nearly destroyed the colony, racial stereotypes demonizing the Indians were quickly adopted by the English settlers to justify the slaughter of Indian peoples and the appropriation of their territory. Now, some Powhatan captives were enslaved and joined the Africans in bondage. Other Indian peoples moved out of the region beyond the reach of the settlers. At the dawn of the British Empire in America, it was unclear how the colonies would evolve. Would they be little more than pirates' nests, as feared by the successful Spanish ambassadors in London, or develop as fast as the fishing stations and trading posts such as Newfoundland? Virginia would come with the exploitation of the lower-class English, Africans, and Indians. Moving into Chapter 1, Jamestown. Summary. The English would be importing all the best supplies from around Europe, and one of the founders, John Poree, once believed that once the vineyards were established in Virginia, that there would be enough wine to lade all the ships that come, with vintages as good as those of France and Spain. One of the other reasons for setting up the colony of Virginia was they were looking for gold, very similarly to how the Spanish and the Portuguese were looking for gold in places like El Dorado. Now, eventually, there would be no gold or silver mine found in the territory known as Virginia. Sailor Christopher Newport would find no gold or silver. Now, Virginia's legal code was set up on the divine, moral, and the marital. People had to attend church services twice a day. The people that founded Virginia were very aware that Spain had been successful in spreading Catholicism among the Indian peoples of Spanish North America, and they believed that North America would serve as a Protestant empire against the Catholic domination in South America at the time, and that all eyes of Europe are on the endeavors to spread the gospel to the heathen Indian people of Virginia and to plant our English nation there. And about at the time when Virginia would start, Virginia was home to about 15,000 Powhatan people, and the English thought they were civilizing them like they had done to the wild Irish. Chapter 2, Great Reforms. Summary. Many Powhatan English wars would take place, and the Powhatan would lose most of their lands. The settlements were modeled on similar land grants in Ireland that had worked for the English in the past. Bermuda and Virginia would be competing to sell tobacco and other crops. Good government, just laws, Protestant morality, and rewards for everyone who invested and settled in the colony was their general goals. And most of the founders thought that they were building a better society in Virginia than of that was already in England. Chapter 3, First Africans, Summary. The treasurer and White Lion, woodcatcher, a Portuguese/Sephardic-owned ship with African captives on it. They would set course for Virginia, and on August 20th, 1619, the first Africans would come to Virginia. By the time that the first Africans arrived, Spain had already claimed domination over the entire New World. Virginia, and by the time that the slaves had arrived in English-controlled Virginia, there were already 500,000 African slaves in Spanish and Portuguese America, and also in mainland France as well. And they would join the white indentured servants of Virginia, and there would be lifelong service required for all laborers. Similarly to the Africans, the lower-class English people were picked up and transported to Virginia, and the Africans sometimes were sold by other wealthy Africans or conquering kingdoms in Africa. Not much was known about sub-Saharan Africa at the time by the English, and there was only about 2 people in the Virginia colony that had any knowledge, and they described sub-Saharan Africans as a people of a beastly living without a god, law, religion, or commonwealth. There were some free Africans in Virginia at the time, and then there were early discrimination laws regulating Africans and English behavior. One English settler, Hugh Davis, was convicted of abusing himself to dishonor of God and shame of Christians. He was whipped in front of an assembly of English and Negroes, and that's when institutional discrimination began, describing heathen as non-white and Christian as white. Many black slaves and white indentured servants worked alongside one another. They smoked together, ate together, and ran away and had relations. Chapter 4, Commonwealth, Summary. Basically, this chapter doesn't really say anything that's hardcore eye-opening. It discusses the law of the colony, how they would get women from England and other parts of Europe to come and marry wealthy plantation owners and such. Basically just describes that the church and the Commonwealth would take their original foundation on a happy estate, and that's how the society would such run. Chapters 5 and 6, Summaries. Tumult and livery and inequality and freedom. More wars would be fought with the Powhatans for their land, and the English would then describe it as, "Our first work is the expulsion of the savages to gain free range of the country," said by Governor Sir Francis Wyatt in 1622. And originally, though they were initially highly critical of the Spaniards' brutal treatment and exploitation of indigenous peoples, and had sought to distinguish themselves with their own compassionate approach to the Indians of Virginia, the English would now cite the conquistadors' bloody methods with approval. This would eventually lead to them gaining the entire territories of Virginia and then later West Virginia. Overall, this is a summary of each chapter, pointing out the most important things of each chapter of the book. So I just want to thank you for stopping by. Again, the book that we're doing a summary for is 1619 Jamestown and the Forging of American Democracy by James Horn. Okay, thank you.